Weekly jobless claims hitting a pandemic low of 364,000 in the last week. But this comes as millions of Americans are still receiving pandemic benefits. We sat down for an exclusive interview with Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo to talk about a number of topics, including whether long-lasting, generous jobless benefits are holding back the labor market from growing as fast as GDP.
To be very honest, it's so hard to tell in the data. Still, the biggest reason people aren't going back to work is they're afraid. You know, they're afraid of getting COVID. They're not sure if the customers that they'll be working with have been vaccinated. They can't get child care. So the unemployment benefits were always meant to be temporary. They were a vital lifeline for people. They were there when folks needed it. It'll be gone, obviously, in the beginning of September. The real issue, I think, is that a lot of the jobs that folks lost are the kinds of jobs, let's say, for example, in retail or services industries, that might not be coming back or might not be coming back in the same numbers. And so what that means is we have to lean into apprenticeships and job training and upskilling, because the jobs that are being created in cybersecurity or in the digital economy or in the tech economy are there and are good paying. We need to make sure that the folks who are unemployed have the skills that they need in order to get those jobs. And so that is the continuous work that we in the administration are focused on.
Madam Secretary, you made some comments yesterday about the chip shortage, the semiconductor shortage, and said, in search of cheap labor, we offshored so much manufacturing and we wake up one day vulnerable because we don't make this stuff in America. You went on to say we want these companies to be making this stuff in America. I wondered how achievable that was in the short term, but also whether you would accept that in that particular area, it's very much a continuation of the last administration when it comes to the policy on this sort of area of trade, particularly with China.
So it's absolutely possible to make semiconductors in America. In fact, we do it every day. Intel, Micron, huge companies here employ hundreds of thousands of people making chips, designing chips, making the equipment to make chips. We just don't do enough of it. And not that long ago, we were producing a third of the world's chips in America, and now we're down to about 10%. So we just need to reinvest in the research and development and manufacturing and job training so that we can have more indigenous chip manufacturing and design in America.
Speaking of China, I wanted to ask you about President Xi's speech today, marking 100 years celebration of the Communist Party. He issued a warning to nothing descriptive around specific powers, but foreign powers that interfere with the Chinese, bully the Chinese. And specifically, he said, anyone who tries to do so shall be battered and bloodied from colliding with a great wall of steel forged by more than 1.4 billion Chinese people using flesh and blood. And I'm wondering, if you're a U.S. company, a multinational company that does business there, how do you react to that? And how do you deal with the tensions that are brewing right now?
Yeah, so it's obviously, a lot of bluster and rhetoric. I think U.S. companies need to focus on doing their business. And certainly one of my jobs is to improve export promotion. And we will be doing that with U.S. companies. We'll do everything we can to make sure that our U.S. companies are treated fairly and are able to have access to the Chinese market. We will make sure that that is the case, that the Chinese play by the rules, protect IP, allow our companies to access that market. But really, what we need to do here in America is let's just play our game. Right? Let's be a strong America. Let's invest in research and development, invest in infrastructure, invest in job training, and be the strong and great country that we are and great economy that we are.
What about China's human rights abuses? I mean, we saw another round of individuals sanctioned last month. At what point will more than sanctions be used? Because, clearly these human rights abuses have persisted for quite some years and sanctions aren't stopping them.
Yeah, so they're unacceptable, to say the least. They are continuing, and we need to make sure that we do what we can to stand up against them. I think the key is working with our allies, and President Biden has been very clear about this. We were just over in Brussels a couple of weeks ago. The president led a delegation there, rejuvenating our longstanding relationships with the EU. Ultimately, it's going to take not just America, but the allied countries that believe in democracy and have shared values to put enough pressure on them to stop these clear and unjust and inhumane actions.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.